Make it special. Make it Maloney.
This segment of the Port Jeff Pulse is brought to you by Holistic Body for You, health coaching by Karen Sullivan.
Now, Larry LaPointe, our guest, deputy mayor, correct?
Yes.
Deputy mayor.
Of the village of Port Jeff. How? Give us a little history, Larry. I met you, a few years ago. So give us a big history.
A history of me?
Yeah, a little bit, sure.
I've lived here for 30 years.
That's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
My late wife and I raised 4 kids here.
Okay.
They're all grown, successful adults. Only one of them, Allison, lives locally. All the rest are everywhere
All over
from
the
Houston to Rochester to New York City. They're everywhere else. I'm a lawyer, retired from public service, working for the state of New York. And I've done my fair share of public service here in the village. I was on the library board for 10 years when we built the first and only children's room, which was a really big deal back in the day. And I was on the school board for 6 years, and we built libraries in both those schools, which was great, and the connecting corridor so the kids could get into the main building up at Louis Spear. And I'm in the second half of my 3rd term as a village trustee. So,
It's a rich life. It's a rich life.
well, the only thing I haven't been is a fire commissioner, and I don't think that's an area I should go because I know nothing about it.
Wow. So on a day-to-day basis, first of all, is what you do a day-to-day basis job? I mean, obviously it's always on your mind, but
Sure.
Is it truly a full-time?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's a part-time job, but it takes up time every day.
It does. I know.
Sure.
I know.
Right.
So such wonderful things are happening right this year as we speak, and over the last couple of years, it's been especially exciting. What's new in your world in the village business?
Well, one of the things that I'm responsible for is working with the village's parking committee. And parking, even for residents, is an issue.
Number one.
I can't tell you the number of times that residents have said, I don't come down to the village during the summer because I can't find parking. But in the wintertime, I come down because I love the restaurant. It's my village, and I want to be here. So it's not just an issue for merchants or for visitors. It's also an issue for residents who want to enjoy their village year-round.
I know that the parking video that Margot did, and we did it so quickly, it was right at the skating rink here, I think had the most views ever of any video she did. It was well over 100,000.
Yep.
So parking is utmost on people's minds, but not always for the right reasons. You know what I mean? So the announcement was, first of all, that there's free parking now.
Yes.
Which is,
Yep.
up until March 15th. I forget when it starts. Sometime in December?
The Dickens weekend is always our last weekend.
Okay.
And as soon as Dickens is over, that Sunday we turn the meters off. They stay off till March 15. Some years they'll stay off a little bit longer. If we've got snow on the ground.
God bless you.
Bless you.
That's allowed.
If we have snow on the ground, we leave them off until the snow's cleared away because people need to see the numbers in order to use the system.
I got you.
Makes sense.
What can you say really great about your parking system, and what do you wish was better about it?
What's great about our parking system, and we can't take credit. This started under Mayor Mike Lee, and he had the vision. And the more I learned about it, the more I respected the work he and his board did. What's great about it is that it allows us to ration a very scarce resource in a fair way, and it generates money that can be used to beautify and improve our commercial district without burdening the residential taxpayer.
Right.
So these parking lots are totally self-supporting at this point.
Excellent.
Yeah, they've all been renovated by parking meter funds, correct?
All parking meter funds. We
fantastic.
don't use taxpayer revenue to improve them. We only use
important to
the
know.
meter
Right.
fund. So our profit on a yearly basis is usually about $200,000. It goes into a trust fund, and as we're ready to build or renovate, we tap into that fund.
What about the technology related to the parking meters? To me, it's amazing that you can go with an app now,
It's your
right?
phone.
You could go. You never have to go to a meter. If you download the phone app, you can pay from your iPhone. One restaurant in town, Z-Pita, if you're going there for dinner, you can
Makes all
go
the
into
sense.
Z-Pita, and from his maitre d' station, he can pay for your parking spot. This is something that we've offered to all the restaurants. Joey Z has been the only one who's taken us up on it. But this is a separate app. So we have two apps. We have what we call the merchant app, so where merchants can pay for your parking. We have the phone app where you can pay for your parking on your phone.
So Joey picks up parking for his
He picks
guests,
up parking for all his
the
guests.
patrons? Wow.
He gives them 2 hours parking free,
Wow.
and he pays it.
Wow.
To me, that is
That's a-
way of.
Well, it's smart.
It's customer
course it's-
loyalty.
Well, it's customer, and it's
Because there's
it's
a lot of
wonderful.
misnomers out there. A lot of people, I have heard people say, I won't come down to the town, but they don't realize there are ways to do this,
Right.
Sure.
And there's more parking in places that people probably also don't realize, correct?
Yes. We've only got roughly 600 parking spaces in our system. Now, on a summer day, over 200 of those spaces are taken up usually by employees.
Okay.
So you're down to maybe 400 spaces for the public. So we've got a real parking shortage.
Yeah.
And our biggest challenge is we're not building a garage
Stop
because
it.
nobody wants
Why?
one.
No, see, I've seen public meetings where nobody.
Nobody
What's
wants,
wrong with the public
wants it 'cause
garage?
It's so big.
Well, the town of Huntington has done approximately 4 of them, and they work well. But the feeling in this community is so against it that even in the master plan, what we put in the master plan was no consideration will be given to building a garage until we've considered every other possibility for adding to parking, which is a great segue into some of the things we're working on currently, because we're working on finding more parking spaces.
Okay.
So we just purchased a house on Barnum Avenue. The bids have come in for its demolition, and we're hoping to develop a new public parking lot, combining that property with a little bit of the adjoining area, the wooded area of Erland Field, not the entire area, because we want to
okay.
leave about a 25-foot buffer between Caroline and the beginning of the parking lot, so that it doesn't impact the residential neighbors. But we still ought to be able to get about 60 parking spaces in there.
It's great.
And that will be paid for, again, all by managed parking money.
Which is 10%. That's a 10% increase right there.
Yes. And we have another project going on uptown, right adjacent to the new apartments, right along the railroad track. We have some parking there now. The owner up there has some parking. We're going to be working in some fashion with him to build another 59 spaces there. And we've just finished having a meeting 2 weeks ago with the Long Island Railroad. They're going to be renovating, basically to our design, the village's design, their parking lot and the train station.
Nice.
Very
So-
exciting. So, and then what if, I'm just forward thinking, you probably thought of this, but those employees, 200 cars is a lot. What if they were able to park uptown and take a
Shuttle.
trolley down?
Well, we are working now. The parking committee just started working with the Business Improvement District, and there's kind of a loose restaurant association that's starting to form in the village, because we're all seeing the same thing. And what we're starting to develop, and we're not there yet, but we'll get there, is a valet service. And the hope is that we'll have a central valet point downtown. When you come down into the village, if you choose to participate in that instead of searching for a parking space, you pull up to the valet station, you pay, the valet takes your car to a remote lot elsewhere in the village, which we'll have to negotiate out with some property owners, and they bring it back. That would be the equivalent of building a virtual parking garage.
Right.
And we think that that's a way of getting maybe the equivalent of 150 spaces without building the building. So that's what we're hoping for, but we have a little work to do on it.
Right. The idea of a time parking thing is so people can get their business done and move on, so other new people can come in. right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that.
We're rationing a scarce resource.
Of course.
Right.
Wow, it's amazing. It's more
Yeah.
it's more than meets the
Yes.
eye.
Oh, there's more to it than that. We're keeping a lot of track of the technology, and the technology is changing as we speak. Within the next 10 years, the meters themselves will disappear, and everyone will be using a phone app.
Amazing.
In Europe and in other places in this country, it's all your parking payment is done by app.
Right, which means two things are true. The system itself should be more profitable at that point.
Sure.
Okay. Hopefully, right?
Right.
That passes on, if you will, because you are losing the maintenance of these machines.
We don't have to buy them. We
Right.
don't have to maintain them. We don't have to pay somebody to empty the coin out of them.
Right.
We don't have to put
Yep.
rolls of paper in them.
It's amazing.
There's a lot of labor involved in keeping these machines up and running.
Also, no multi-level garage going upper port. Nothing in the plan there either, right?
In Upper Port, there, as we partner with potential developers, there's an 18-foot drop between Main Street and the next street over to the east, which is Oakland. Some of the plans we've seen by developers call for a multi-level garage to be built into whatever apartments and stores they're building on the Main Street. But you won't see it because it'll be underground on Main Street. It'll only show back on the Oakland side.
Right.
Okay.
So one of the good things about the shipyard is it's all included parking.
That
There's
was
no new.
that was
had to happen.
it was necessary. It's the only way you could do
Yeah.
any of these new places. You're not going to see especially in Port Jefferson, flat parking
Right.
lots stretching around buildings. The only way to go is to
Those
build
days are
under.
To
over.
go underneath.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's awesome.
What else can you tell me about the business of government and what's happening now, and something that might be fiction and management?
Well, the other thing that I work on a lot is I work a lot with the Code Enforcement Bureau, and we're getting to the point where we're starting to get them more training. They have a very difficult job because all they can do is give tickets. And they're called upon to be basically the first line of defense, the eyes and ears for the police department. And a part of the eyes and ears is we're using parking money to install security cameras in public places.
I did see that.
Yes. So if you go down by Mill Creek, where Mill Creek meets East Broadway, there's a pole there and there's a camera on it. That's what's called a pan tilt zoom camera.
PTZ, yep.
PTZ. We are putting 5 of them in, and 4 of them downtown. 1 of them is already uptown. And we're going to be putting a monitoring station in Village Hall that will be staffed so that if we see that you've had a car accident or that you're in need of some kind of assistance, or if there's a break-in, or if somebody's being beat up, which unfortunately late
Sure,
at night in a
sure.
town with bars happens,
Yeah.
we're hoping to cut down response time. So if the monitor sees it, the monitor can immediately call 911 if necessary. If it doesn't require 911, to call code in to provide assistance.
Right.
Summon an ambulance, summon the fire department. So again, we're using the parking funds to enhance public safety.
It's excellent.
Are there any, I have to ask, do people even know, first of all, do they feel safer, and is there any privacy concerns with this?
There are privacy concerns, and we do think carefully about that. Cameras have become a part of life. If you've ever been to London, London is a city where you're constantly
Hardwired
under surveillance.
everywhere.
We're limiting it to the commercial areas, and we're limiting it to public spaces only.
Okay.
But if I've seen some sites recorded on some of the private cameras in the village, and that there are dozens and dozens of private cameras in the village, and we partner with the merchants to get access to those cameras as well.
Different world.
You want to be able to help people when they need to be helped,
Right.
and that's the whole purpose of the camera. Prosecutors have asked us for copies of the films on occasion if they had a serious incident. But again, it's more to cut down the response time, because somebody's going to call sooner or later. But if I can see it on a camera 15 minutes before a call comes into the code phone, that's 15 minutes more public safety.
Not only that, I mean, whatever incident we might be talking about is going to be filmed anyway by the cameras around
Right.
the incident.
Everybody's-
on your iPhone.
So
I've seen some stuff on YouTube going on in our village, unfortunately, which is pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. Well, it happens. It happens
It happens everywhere.
it's part of making a vibrant town. It's the late night stuff usually, as you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
That
Right.
goes on. My mother said nothing good happens after. Actually, my wife said that. My mother never told me that because that's why I was out till.
After midnight?
After
midnight.
It depends.
After
Some
midnight.
people it's after 2. If you're a
witching
little
hour.
older, it's after midnight.
Yeah.
For some people, it may be
I'm
after
old.
It's after
10.
4 p.m., right?
Yeah, no, midnight's my cutoff these
Wow.
days.
Yeah.
So code enforcement, our code enforcement officers are in fact, they're not policemen, right?
They're not police officers. They're not peace officers. They are technically appearance ticket officers.
Okay.
So if you violate the village code, they can write you a summons to appear in the village court, and either you're going to have a trial or you're going to pay a fine. But we provide backup to the police because sometimes one police officer will be dispatched. If I've got 4 code officers on duty on a Friday night, they will pull up, they will stay in the background, and they will assist that officer as needed. And sometimes that officer does need assistance.
Sure.
But sometimes the mere presence of the 4 code officers
Right.
helps keep that cop safe.
Right. Or maybe even deter traffic. and-
Exactly.
right. Traffic control if you have something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot going on behind the scenes that we have
Yes.
not known about up until
Always.
now. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you so much,
You're
Larry.
quite welcome.
I think it's worth repeating that you have a merchant end to this parking system,
Yes.
which I had no idea about, and that we have a couple of merchants, at least one, that's taking advantage of this.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
And we will actually send a person into your place of business and train
To help
you
you
and
along with that. Right.
help you to upload the necessary software to
There's no
get involved
excuse,
in the
really.
system.
Because as a merchant, I'm gonna pay your $2 to $7.
It makes sense for a merchant if the customer is going to be in your place for a significant
Of
period
course,
of time.
of course.
For example, if I were getting my hair done, and I might be in that place for an hour and a half, or I was going to a medical place, and I knew I was going to be, well, with my doctor, it's an hour in the waiting room and another hour in the back room before I get seen.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense, which is why it makes sense for a restaurant. If it's just an in and out, a candy store,
Right.
no,
Right,
it's
but
not
they
going to
can
work.
control that, right? For example, if we knew a certain business needed more business on a Tuesday, they could run a promotion that said free parking on Tuesday. Am I correct?
They could do that.
See, that's great.
The other thing that they can do, which people don't realize, is you can actually come to Village Hall, and you can buy a bag of tokens, and you can give them out to your customers. So we will sell them to you at a discount if you don't want to get into all the techie stuff, but you want to give some kind
That's
of
brilliant.
If you want to give a complimentary something back to your customer, we can give you a token. So some businesses do buy a bag of tokens, and they give them out as a complimentary
Right.
benefit to their customers.
Right.
It's a great
That's
idea, too.
fantastic. Yeah. What is the average amount someone spends to park in Port Jefferson?
What the average amount is about $1.50.
It's nothing. I think people are under that.
Well,
'Cause you know, you're going to Manhattan. It's no less
Right.
than
Well, it's,
Right.
55 in a parking
we
garage.
are actually the cheapest game in town in
Anywhere.
terms of what we charge.
Yeah, yeah.
All of the surrounding communities charge more. And again, it's not just about making money. It's about making sure that people come in, do their business in a comfortable way.
Managing that resource, as you said.
Manage the resource. If you're going to stay for a long time, there are places. We actually added over on Caroline Avenue. We added 30 free spaces in front of Erlin Field,
Oh, yeah.
and that was paid for again with the meters, because the philosophy is if you want to park in close, you pay. But we wanted to make it free on the peripheries to encourage people park at the edges
Yeah,
of downtown
and
walk.
Walk in.
But when people are driving round and round on a Friday night, sometimes the Erlin Field spots are still empty.
Right.
So it's an education.
It's
thing.
an education.
It's
Yep.
for us to try to get people
And-
to understand there are ways. If you
Right.
don't want to pay and you want to park for a long time, there are still ways to do it down
Right.
The secrets. You heard it first here in the Port Jeff Health. Thank you, Deputy Mayor LaPointe. This has been great.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
welcome
This is
anytime.
awesome.
Come on. It's been a great
Yep.
education. Thanks
Excellent.
again.
Thanks.
Thank you.